Three strikes and still beating. This is AK Thiagaraj. I was on the new medication for a couple of weeks. I still couldn't be sure if it would prevent another shock. At least, it wasn't giving me the side effects of the previous meds. Then I got a text from my EP. It would be good to see you in the office. My EP and I were basically BFFs at this point. We were texting like high school kids. I set up an appointment and showed up with my wife. He asked how I was doing on the new med. I said, I don't have any noticeable side effects, but I don't know if it's actually preventing another cardiac event. He nodded. That's exactly what I need to talk to you about. I tensed up. My wife leaned in. He continued, the med you are on is doing its job, but we can't be sure. To be absolutely sure, to test how your heart reacts to induced stress, to control pacing, we need to do what's called an EP study. I was like, great. Another medical term. Just what I needed. He explained they would thread catheters into my heart through my veins and basically try to simulate death in a controlled environment by temporarily inducing an arrhythmia after turning off my device, the ICD, and watching how the heart reacts. And yes, he added, we'd have to temporarily turn off the device. But don't worry, we will have 6 to 7 nurses in the room and external defibrillators ready. You are in the safest place possible. My wife and I looked at each other, probably thinking the same thing. Is he fucking serious? Simulate death with the device turned off? What if the medicine isn't strong enough? What if I actually go into cardiac arrest again? Is this some kind of twisted team building exercise for the hospital staff? I told him I'd think about it and left the hospital. We came home and told our daughters. They were horrified. My older daughter was insistent that I shouldn't do it. My younger one, still a bit too young to fully grasp it, was also shaken. The next couple of weeks were agonizing. Family discussions, researching online, talking to doctors' friends, video calls, and text with my EP. He told me again that he highly recommended the study and that it was perfectly safe. After extensive discussions with the family, I gave in. At least if the study was successful, I'd know the medication was doing its job. I could stop living with that constant silent dread, the fear of another shock. Finally, I could get that question out of the back of my mind. The day came. My wife dropped me off at the hospital. I got into the familiar hospital gown, got anesthesia, and dozed off. The routine was starting to feel too familiar. I was happily knocked out, while my family was sweating bullets. I woke up a few hours later in recovery. The nurse told me the study was successful and the EP would call me. It felt anticlimactic and relieving at the same time. My family came to pick me up. My wife was beaming. She said the EP had called her. They simulated different scenarios and I didn't have any arrhythmias. The pill was doing its job. Even in the midst of anesthesia fog, I cracked a smile. This small white pill, twice a day, was going to give me some peace of mind. Now that this was behind me, I started planning a family trip. I drove the family crazy with travel arrangements and prep. That summer of 2022, we went to Italy, 3 cities, then to Dubai to visit my wife's brother's family, and finally to Chennai, India, to see our parents and extended family. It was my first trip to India in 9 years. We literally circumnavigated the globe, flying across the Atlantic and returning over the Pacific. While I didn't have the energy I had a decade ago, I was able to handle the trip. I finally got to exhale, knowing the ticking time bomb had finally been diffused. Life was normalizing after the pandemic. And for me, it felt like a double relief. Pandemic and device shock, both behind me. We started doing normal things again, going to restaurants, parties, shopping. We even attended church a few times, even read the Bible and prayed a few times, even though I was still angry at God. The guilt of not going to church was weighing me down, but I was still mad at Him. Christmas 2022 was the usual. We hosted a party, went to church, and rolled into the new year. Looking back, 2023 was the most uneventful year I'd had in a long time. Things were going normal. Only real medical nuisance, my blood pressure. It was a bit high, and my cardiologist wasn't happy. I kept cycling through BP meds, a new one every 2 months. Either they didn't work or they gave me side effects. That fall, I helped my younger daughter with her college applications. This time, it was much easier. I knew exactly what to do. I also paid for some college admission services, basically outsourcing part of the work I'd done myself the first time around. But I learned to get professional help whenever possible. Instead of trying to do everything myself and messing it up, like the time I tried to fix the door lock and ended up locking us all in. Thanksgiving and Christmas followed the usual routine. I tried to enjoy it with the family, but it wasn't the same as it used to be a decade ago. I guess life just wears on you after a while. And just like that, 2023 faded into memory. No big medical crisis, no drama, just quiet, with a lot of side effects from the 5 or 6 meds I was taking. But sometimes quiet isn't peace. New Year 2024 rolled around. I started feeling more tired than usual. At first, I blamed it on work, stress, sleep. But deep down, something felt off. I went back to my cardiologist and told him about the fatigue. I blamed the blood pressure medication. He seemed frustrated too. By this point, we tried every class of drug, every possible combination. He changed the meds once again and asked me to give it some time. I nodded and walked out of his office, not entirely convinced the new prescription would make any difference. At this rate, I felt like the FDA was running a secret experiment. Let's see how many blood pressure meds one guy can survive before he finally taps out. In April, the college admission decisions started rolling in. My younger daughter made me proud. She got into a bunch of great schools. She chose one close to home, just like her sister, but not the same one. I think she wanted to make her own mark, to chart her own course instead of following in her sister's footsteps. That summer of 2024, we took a trip to India for my wife's niece's wedding. My daughters were excited. It was their first cousin's wedding. There was sari shopping, gold jewelry, and a whole bunch of other things. And let's just say my bank account took a hit. I was hoping for a government bailout. The highlight for me, I was the MC at the wedding reception. A few people came over and said I did a great job. My wife must have paid them to say that. And behind all this, my fatigue, muscle pain, and drowsiness were getting worse. We came back from the trip, and between work and family, I was wiped. A couple of months later, in September 2024, we helped move my younger daughter into college. I was emotional, but not as much as I had been with our first. I guess the mind adjusts. My younger daughter joked that I must love her sister more since I didn't get all teary this time. I laughed and told her that wasn't true. I just knew the drill by now. Or maybe my emotions were running low, drained by months of meds, side effects, and these new worrisome symptoms. Around that time, my symptoms got more alarming. Brain fog, trouble talking in meetings, struggling in social conversations. I couldn't even defend myself when my wife was yelling at me. As Christmas approached, my sister and her family came to visit. I hadn't seen my sister in 6 years. Pandemic and health issues made it hard. As a family, we had a good time, but my symptoms continued. The saving grace was that I was on Christmas break, so I slept a lot. Just before Christmas, we noticed my golden retriever wasn't eating much, more lethargic than usual. I thought it was just a stomach issue. We couldn't take her to the vet. Everything was closed for Christmas. But she kept getting worse. My daughters took her to the vet the morning of December 27, as soon as they reopened. Within 30 minutes, my younger daughter called me. Daddy, our dog has cancer. The next few days were agonizing. Should we treat it? Put her down? Let her go naturally at home? There were no good options. Just pain, guilt, and helplessness. We ruled out treatment quickly. It didn't feel right to put her through chemo and tests just to prolong the inevitable and her pain. So we decided to keep her comfortable. Painkillers, love, peace, let her go naturally at home. But within a couple of days, she got worse. She stopped eating, wouldn't even take her painkillers. She was suffering. I knew then I had to put her down in the new year. I just had to convince the rest of the family. So I decided to take her for one last walk. When she saw me reach for her leash, I could see her joy, even through the pain. She slowly trotted over, tail wagging faintly, and I leashed her with tears in my eyes. We walked together one last time, and I found myself replaying all the moments she's given us over the past 10 years. From the day we brought her home as a tiny pup to this very walk. Every bark, every run, every ball fetch, every bit of unconditional love. New Year's 2025 rolled in. We went to a party, but our minds were elsewhere. Didn't even feel like celebrating. Long story short, our dog passed away naturally on January 2nd. Spare us the guilt. Spare us the agony of having to make that call. 2025 was off to a fucking fabulous start. That's the episode. If this one hit close to home, if you have ever had to let go of something or someone you loved, or you have been through a season that left you drained but still standing, take a moment to rate, review, and share the show. It helps more people find it and maybe feel a little less alone in their own quiet battles. Beaten by life, still beating.